welcome back to another episode of What a Week. It's me, Terry Martin, the presenter. I'm here to give you the news from us, by us, but I'm not doing it alone because I'm here with Mr. C, the comedian, and Tony Crossbody. Oi, oi.
What a one! What a week! What a one! Big up, people.
Good evening, everyone.
Terry, Tony.
Yes,
How are you?
Blessed, man. Blessed.
How's your week been? That's how we need to start off. How has your week been?
One of amazement.
Yeah?
One of amazement. Yep. My son's birthday, one of my great grandniece's birthday. So there was just an excuse for just eating and drinking galore, man.
How old was your son?
My son is 32 now.
What? Are you joking?
He's 32, my son.
Oh my goodness. I thought you were 32, Mr. C.
Well, thank you. But yeah, my son he's turned 32 now. So yeah,
well done, Daddy. Well done.
Thank you. Just say that I found at a very early age there's things in life much sweeter than ice cream.
You started already.
Yeah.
We're not ready for it.
Too early. Sorry.
Happy belated birthday to your son. Definitely a very good reason to celebrate. And your niece? How old is your niece?
Yep. She's 10. My grandniece. Always a great niece. It's my niece's daughter. So
yeah. However it works out. Yes. Yeah. Happy birthday to her also. 10.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man. No, so yeah,
welcome.
It was good to see family get together. And again, my people's celebrated 47 years worth of wedding anniversary as well, which is, they've been together 50 years, Mr. and Mrs. Anderson, you know what I mean? Pure love to them, man. Beautiful, man. They're like mum and dad to me, man. So yeah. Beautiful,
that is
beautiful
wonderful.
People.
Yeah, so much celebration for you. Yeah,
listen,
it's a good week for you, Tony. How has your week been, Tony?
I don't believe Mr. C's got a 32-year-old son.
Neither can I.
That means he had his son when he was 5 years old.
Too kind.
That's not possible. It's not possible, sir. You're not mature that way.
I was 6.5.
It's even that you got to tell me, where do you get that black dye for your beard, man?
That's what everybody keeps saying, man. You know what? The way how to keep your beard black like this, don't give your woman no trouble.
No.
I have no words.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about that.
Totally, what's been going on with you? Because I can see you're quite white there and there. Bare stress. Bare stress.
Yeah, clearly, I've been doing something wrong. I should have spoken to Mr. C years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe I would have behaved myself. But well, you know what? Now I've heard the advice. I can stop doing that. So hopefully I can just arrest the grey. You know.
Good.
There you go.
No, but congratulations. That's a great achievement, and great.
Thank you,
my week has been pretty quiet. No more Zoom parties. I put that on pause for a while. It gets a bit same old after a while, I think. So I've just gone back to my old boring retiring life, which is generally work and read some books to keep my mind occupied. And watch the news, as we're going to discuss today. Some very interesting topics. So looking forward to that. So yeah, pretty quiet. So hopefully, I'm looking forward for maybe a fantastic, marvelous week next week for me to share with the viewers. But this week it's the same old boring Tony Crossbody.
Me too. I've had a good week as well.
What did you get up to, Terry?
I've just been working. I filmed a podcast over the weekend and did a photo shoot. That's always a joy for a girl to get dressed up, glammed up. I had my makeup done professionally, so it was a good week. It was a good week. I
saw little bits of the photo shoot, and it was, oh my gosh. Whoa.
Slay.
What? I saying all of the women were slaying in that. I was so jealous. I was like, I wish I was the camera lens.
The lens.
Yeah. Listen, I wanted to be the first thing to see it. Not. I didn't want to see it secondhand. I wanted to see it firsthand.
You know what? Next time we'll find you a role to be there. Like, you need to make us laugh for the pictures. Maybe we can just be there for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm up for that. 100%.
It's a deal. Right, so we're going to get straight into our stories now. And first of all, I want to make sure that everybody knows they are to conversate with us. please message us via the comments below. Talk with us. Give us your opinions, your thoughts, your feelings on everything we're talking about. This is an interactive show, and we love it when you get involved. So please get involved. So the first story we're going to talk about is that the mainstream media are trying to excite us about this potential vaccine. Have you heard about this vaccine that I think 1,077 people so far have responded to it, which has given them antibodies that can fight this COVID. How are we feeling? Are we feeling like this is a bit of a hype? Is it all too soon? Give me your opinion, Mr. C and Tony. Whoever wants to go first.
Too much, too soon. I don't know who those volunteers were. They must have been desperate for either attention or for fame or for death.
Oh.
But no, it's way too soon, way too early. I'm not convinced, and they're not. No.
So even if they offered, say, £2,000 for every volunteer, would you volunteer yourself, Mr. C?
Nope. No, I might put my baby mother's name down, but my name ain't going down on that. No. I'm even playing when I say that. I wouldn't even put one of my enemies. Not that saying that I've got any, but I wouldn't. Because I just don't trust. There's not enough information. It hasn't been given enough time. I think that you've got to value your life more than £2,000, man. Because literally you're playing Russian roulette with your life. I think anyway.
Yeah, let us know out there if you would volunteer as well. Tony, have you got any more information to give us on these vaccines and what you found out about these vaccines so far?
No.
Why? Is it because you don't trust it, so you're not wasting your time with it? Tell us.
Yeah, it looks to me that they've got to keep the narrative going. They've the summer came, the cases dropped off, and they thought, we need to keep the story going in time for this vaccine. Like, how long are you going to take for that vaccine? Oh yeah, we'll be there in 2 weeks. Right, let's keep the story going for 2 weeks until we have a link between where we are now and where we want you to be.
Yes, man.
And so that fear narrative continues. And as they pointed out, they've got people who've obviously gone for the trial. But notice I've seen some footage. No black people have gone for the trials. They're trying to encourage them to come. But even for $2,000, even if I'm sure black people, even though they were broke, for $2,000 wouldn't take that chance. So I think
I don't even think it's that much, to be honest. I just plucked $2,000. But I remember at the beginning of COVID, they said something like £600 for people who would allow them to, test this, that, and that on them. So it most probably is less than that, if there is even a monetary thing. But also, is it a problem though that us black and ethnic minorities, as they like to call us, don't get involved in these trials? Is that why sometimes these vaccines don't work for us?
This is what they put forward as an excuse. Or should I say a reason as to why we don't. But I think naturally, generally, as a population, not all of us, but as a population, we tend to be kind of conspiratorial in the way we view things. In any case, in fact, our whole history is conspiratorial. That's why we think the way we do. So anything that's going to be injected in us that we don't know about, we're always going to be suspicious of it. So I think that's something in our psyche that prevents us from lining up for tests.
And I think what you said there, the word conspiracy, it's got a different meaning for us as black people, because it's broken down into syllables. Con, because you tricked me before. Spirit, which is spirits. They tell us about it, yeah. And we see what go on. Then our full black people again, yeah.
Please let us know what you think out there. Would you be a part of the trial for the vaccine? And do you think that black and ethnic minorities should get more involved in some of these trials? Because are we doing ourselves an injustice? I want to know from you guys watching what you feel about this. So moving on from that also. Oh no, go ahead.
I just wanted to say one other thing as well. And the reason why we've given them enough in medicine and science. We don't need to give them our bodies as guinea pigs. Because at the end of the day, especially for our black women, because this was something I read this week, I should have really noted it down, is that black women are the only species in this world, on this planet, that has the Eve gene. Look it up. The Eve gene, meaning that everything can come from the black woman, and only the black woman can create everything. So I'm talking about other races as well.
Wow.
So no other race can create any other race apart from the black woman, which is because of I forgot the technical name of it, but it's classified also alternatively known as the Eve gene as well. So we've given them enough. Thank you very much. We don't need to give them a thing again, Massa.
Thank you for that. So everyone look up the Eve gene. So next we're going to be talking about the fact that doctors, police and teachers are going to get a pay rise, and this does not include nurses. And the reason why this might be a bit annoying to some is because a lot of black and ethnic minorities work in the NHS, don't they, as nurses, most of them. They come from all over the place. That's why I knew Brexit was going to come and bite them in the butt, you know, when they wanted to send everyone back. But they needed us. They needed us to stay here in the end and battle against this COVID. So how is this? Is it fair that nurses are not included in this pay rise? How did they choose this? I'm a bit perplexed. Tony, do you know any more on this?
No. Again, to be honest with you, I mean, I've sort of briefly caught up with it. I saw a sign saying, "Boris, you need to give us a pay rise because we saved your life," which I totally agree with. And they just picked a bad time to tell people that nurses are not going to be included in the pay rise. In fact, I mean, if we had to choose, nurses we should be the only ones receiving a pay rise by rights, particularly under these conditions. So I can see how they'd be very much aggrieved. And this comes on the back of something that Boris said a couple of weeks ago when he sort of partly blamed care home workers for some of the deaths of old people in care homes, you see. So, yeah, this whole thing, I don't know if you guys saw the program last night on Panorama, sort of looking into the way the whole COVID situation was handled, but it's all starting to unravel now. People are starting to look behind the scenes and see how this has been messed up. And, well, goodness knows what the nurses are going to do. Are they going to go on strike now? We'll wait to see.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's a slap in the face, isn't it? The fact that throughout the whole of this pandemic, we've been, oh yes, 8 o'clock, go on, clap for the nurses and the key workers, clap for them. And then now they get this clap back, which you're talking about giving. Teachers have been on holiday. Since this started, teachers, apart from those who are, sorry, I tell a fib, apart from those where, they're looking after key worker children. But again, you're talking out of a school out of probably 300 to 400, there's probably around about 10 children. So you're not really doing much. Police have been doing nothing at all. And plus, they seem to be immune from COVID anyway, because anytime there was protests and march, them there with no mask, on them face and rolling 8 in a van, without any kind of infection. So they haven't done nothing at all, to be honest with you. Yeah. And for the fact that nurses are now not getting a pay rise, it's just like, it's almost like he was expecting all of them to die and not come through this. That's why it's no point giving them a pay rise, because they won't be here to live to see it. It's disgusting, mate.
Honestly,
we all need to go on strike for the nurses. That's what we need to do. Not the nurses go on strike. We need to go on strike for the nurses. Is terrible behavior, man.
It's a terrible way to be rewarded for the hard work. And some of these nurses and doctors have actually died, right? Contracted COVID. And all right, guys, thanks very much, but there's no pay rise for you. I mean, that is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, the choice over giving teachers pay rise over a nurse, especially during these times, for me is really perplexing. When I have been doing all the teachers' work, basically, my kids have had some online classes. I'm not going to lie. Some of the teachers have, they still have to prepare and do, but that's what they would have been doing anyway. But they haven't had to be in the classroom, half of them. They're not doing all the other duties that come with being a teacher when the children are in the classroom. They did try and get the children back in the classroom at some point, and some children did go back, but not mine, because I thought, I'm not ready for that yet. But how they qualified and nurses didn't qualify will be a very big question mark to me, because it just makes no sense at all.
And now teachers are on half term.
Yeah.
End of school. It's another 6 weeks holiday.
Yeah, 6 weeks. 6 weeks.
I'm not bitter, teachers.
Well, actually, this would lead me into, it wasn't actually our next story, but it leads us nicely into the fact that parents could be fined if they don't send their children back to school in September. And we have a video. I'm sorry, producer, I know I'm out of line here, but I just think it flows. So let's watch this video, please, about this. I might have put him out now because I've gone out of order.
United Nations, for example, the world.
If parents don't send their kids back to school?
Well, we've made it clear this is compulsory. Parents do need to be sending their children back to school. If ultimately they continue to ignore the fact that their children need to be in schools, if they continue to fail to work with the schools to get their children back, well then, at the most extreme level, they could be liable to a fine.
So, I mean, I don't even know what to say. When they said pull out the children, we have to pull them out. When they said put them back, we have to put them back. There's still nothing. There's still no vaccine. There's still no, all their rules are all over the place. 2 meters, 1 meter, wear a mask, don't wear a mask. I don't know how I feel about sending my children back in September, to be honest, because I just feel like all they care about is the economy. And in order to get the economy started, children need to go back to school so people can go back to work. That's how it's concluded for me. Let me know what your opinions are. And please get involved if you're watching. Let us know what you think about this. Mr. C or Tony, whoever wants to go.
I think that they're setting themselves up to fail with this because what's going to happen is that obviously your child's health and safety comes first and foremost. And if the schools cannot provide suitable guidelines as how they're going to ensure that your child is going to be kept healthy, then it's every parent's right not to send their child to that school. The other thing as well is that as regards to a lot of people have been homeschooling their children for the last 4 months. So we've got more than enough tools and resources in order to still educate our child. So really and truly, this thing about, your child has to be at school to learn. Well, no, actually, we've just proved that for the last 4 months, they don't need to be. So again, they're going to fail on that. And I'm sure that somebody's going to use it as a rule of law against them. And they're going to fall flat on their faces for it.
And I've also said that about jobs. Like, there's no longer, I don't think any manager now can any longer say you have to be in work to do your job, because so many people have done their job from home now that rule can no longer stand. Because, everybody would try that thing. Can I just work from home? They're like, oh, no, sorry, we need you in the office. That's not the case anymore. So I don't know where they're coming from with these fines. Tony, what do you think about this?
Well, it's a complete mess. I mean, I can't believe that the government did not foresee all of this. It just looks like they keep stumbling from one error to another. So you haven't made the necessary precautions. You're still telling the public, look, it's out there. People are getting sick. People are still dying. But you're saying, hold on a second, football is soon going to be coming back, and kids are going back at school. So what is it? Is it out there? Is it dangerous? Is it killing people, or are things back to normal? It's like we're being told two different stories. And I can understand parents who would be aggrieved at sending their kids back to school, not having any assurances, that the school is a safe place for their children to be. Even the workplace environment. I mean, Boris said the other day, well, what did he say about going back to work? Well, if you need to go back to work, you go back, but stay home, but go back. It's all this fudging, and there's no real clarity. And I think you're going to get a lot of parents that are going to be up in arms about this.
Yeah,
of course. Not to mention the fact that they keep talking about this second wave was supposed to be coming, and the possibility of a third wave supposed to be coming. So which parent would want to send their child out into that? It's mixed messages all the way through from the government, and this is one of the reasons why I think parents will decide what they think is best for the health of their children. And I think whatever decision a parent makes, they have to respect it.
Yeah. And do you think the schools could help with this also by making sure that they do have things in place, and the good communication between the school and the parent can help a lot of people to send their children back to school, to be fair? Because my children's school, they did bubbles. I think every school now had these little bubbles where your child stays in their bubble, and they all have to go to the toilet at the same time. They all have to come back at the same time. There was all these different rules. And they even encouraged us to send our children back at least for a week before the summer holidays, so that our children can have a little taster of this new bubble system, should it be continued in September. I still chose not to because I just thought this is still a trial and error. So I let other people's kids try it out, and it seemed to be okay. there's no reports yet. So hopefully the schools having good communication with the parents and on their procedures on how they're going to go forward with this will be very, very, very helpful.
But the thing is, Terry, a lot of the teachers are up in arms about going back to school. That's the thing. You know what I mean? Not just the parents. The teachers like, well, okay, so what safeguards are in place and what should... And we are told the science tells us that children are pretty much immune to this, right? So they have to go back to school and work in these bubbles. So, it's like, all right, yes, education is important. I'm just looking at Carolyn's quote. She says children need to go back to school, right? And that's and it's true, they need to be educated. But if the environment of the school makes parents fearful, then I can understand why they would hold back. If teachers are fearful about going to school to teach because the environment's not made for, I can understand that.
Yeah.
So the government needs to provide some clarity on this. As opposed, are they saying now that it is safe? Where are we with this? I mean, okay, so children might not be able to contract it back, but teachers who are adults can contract it, right? So what are the safeguards in place? How do you have teachers meeting? How do parents go and visit the headmaster or the head teacher if they need to? What strategies are in place for that? And
School assemblies.
Yeah, school assemblies, absolutely. So it's just also poorly thought out, right? And I can understand why parents and teachers would be concerned. And I don't think the government really thought about how they would change British life in general. How people would now want to work from home, don't want to go to the office. How parents want to teach their children from home and not want to send them to school. I don't think they just thought, okay, well, this is a temporary stopgap. When it's all over, we'll tell them what to do. They'll go back. And all of a sudden, people are used to a lifestyle 6 months, 5-6 months in, that they think, hold on, I can do this from home. I don't need to go out to work. I can school my kids and I can do various other things, right, without actually needing to travel.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they don't sound like they really thought this was going.
No.
Not at all. And I think as Carolyn said, a lot of people do need to go back to work, and some parents didn't enjoy having to do the both. I know I have a couple parents who couldn't do their full-time job and teach their children. It was stressing them out. But like she said, she's very happy with the process her 15-year-old school have taken, and she felt very assured with their safety methods. So I think that's very, very important that the schools assure the parents on how they're going to do this, because as for the government, they're just telling everybody what to do. But I think the fines are just absolutely cheeky and ridiculous.
One other thing I wanted to say where it could be problematic as well is if you've got two parents at home and one is saying, let's send the children back to school, and the other parent is saying, no, I don't think it's safe. So, I think in a relationship, you have to compromise with that person who feels that there's a risk to the children, because you don't want to be that parent who says, no, the government says it's safe, send them to school, and then they get sick. If your child gets sick because of something that you've said, that other parent's going to have you over a barrel for the rest of your life, man.
Yeah.
So you can't do Russian roulette with your children's lives and safety and health. You can't.
No.
It's funny. That reminds me of a story of I think it was in the paper last week. A young, it was about a teenager, 14, 15-year-old, was told not to go out in large groups and congregate. And apparently, he picked up the COVID, passed it on to his dad, and his dad is now on life support.
There you go. You see, perfect example.
Yeah.
And he's all right, but his dad is now.
So it seems like children might just be asymptomatic. So they could also go to school, pick it up from their teacher, and take it back home to their grandparent or to their parents. Yeah. So I just think it should stay as it was before, which was you can send your children in if you want to, and if you don't want to, there should never be any fine or I don't think any sort of reprimanding for not sending your children in such a dire time. We've never had something like this before. I think that's really cold and mean of them to even think of doing that to people. And it's all about money, isn't it? It all comes back to the economy, as far as I'm concerned.
Of course it is, and not only that. What it comes down to is that, you know, if your son is Tariq, and you know, and you're the mum, you know, and you're the dad, then probably you know, whatever the fine is, it makes a big difference to your household budget. If your son is Tarquin, your name is Terence Lord something and the other double-barreled surname, you would say, well, poppycock to them and their fines. I'll pay it. In fact, you know what I do? I'll pay it for the whole year, because you can afford not to send your child to school. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's really going to affect those people who are on low wages or on income support. It's going to affect the poorly more than anybody else.
Yeah, and that's always the case. And Tegan Allison has just said, I have received emails from my children's schools, secondary and primary. One has provided very thorough details and the other not so much. But enough detail to get them through the first week. But unfortunately, it will be something to suck and see. So they won't know what's the real issue once the whole school returns and lessons will be learnt. Yeah.
Exactly.
Caroline said, I'm not going to be kept at home, allowing us to live in fear. We need to find our normal. And the government have shown they do not know their arse from their ankle. I like that saying.
Unfortunately, that has been from the very beginning, hasn't it? I mean, look, we were the Prime Minister was asked about whether, you know, very early on, whether or not wearing masks, you know, was going to be an option. And so, well, he said, no, we don't need to wear masks, blah, blah, blah. Well, look, here we are, you know, 4 months, 5 months in. Oh, now it's going to be mandatory to wear masks in shops. I mean, it's just that type of leadership that, you know, you've got 70 million people that are hanging on to your every word, right? And you're giving them policy that pretty much is confusing them and making yourself look ridiculous in the process.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, let's move on to a follow-up from last week. We spoke about the Chinese and the 5G. The Chinese have now ramped up their threat to the UK to reconsider suspending 5G. The State Secretary visits today to talk the trade agreements about it. So here is a video before we get chatting.
Is now dated. United Nations, for example, the World Health Organization, the World Trade Organization. If we don't think these things are working, let's fix them rather than walk away from them, because that just gives space to China to advance its own geopolitical ideology.
Yeah, certainly a visit causing further friction in Sino-British relations. How much does that matter?
Oh, it's so significant. I mean, I actually believe now we have entered a new Cold War, but it won't be fought like the last one against the Soviets. There won't be a build-up of military hard power on each side. This time, it will be firstly about nations being forced to take sides. China is currently winning that battle. It neutralizes countries by ensnaring them into long-term debt, controlling countries by owning their data, and of course, paralyzing international apparatus such as the UN itself by removing global security. And then on the other side, I just spoke of sort of war operations, where this bypasses direct military engagement using cyber weapons to hit society directly, as every aspect of our lives now goes online.
Yes, this is it. I believe China have a very strong hand with the amount of things that they build, they make, they create. They are definitely bossing this situation. Should we be scared as a nation? That's what my first question is. Should we be scared with regards to trade, the new Cold War through trade?
Listen, it's not our worry or our concern, because it's out of our hands, really and truly. What will be will be. We will buy whatever's available in the shops, and that's it. Really and truly, for those who it's going to be a problem for, it's going to be those who are much further up the chain above us, who really benefit from all these trade deals. Really, you know. And yeah, it's going to be tough for them, because China's got, as they said, they've got their inroads in so many different ways. So they've already got a very good infrastructure as regards to electronics and communications. They already know how to manipulate the web as it is already. So they can pull their strings and set off algorithms which will cause chaos within society in the Western Hemisphere. and again, and if we comply, then it allows us to be wide open for them to snoop openly on everything that we have. Not saying that they, because everybody have Chinese, Japanese smart TV and anime also. So them China, I watch we already. So it make no difference.
Yeah,
yeah, it's gonna be really peak, because one thing I know about westernized government is that they do not like being dictated to. So I think the likes of Boris is going to get stubborn, and he's going to be speaking to the likes of President Trump, and President Trump is going to be saying to Boris, you know, don't let them do this to you. You need to, with his little type mouth. And you know, when them two get together, it's just going to be like another episode of Dumb and Dumber.
I knew you were going to say that. Yes. Tony, is Boris taking them serious enough? Is he taking this serious? Does he actually know what could come out of this?
To a limited extent, I think he does. I don't think he knows how far this can go. We did touch on this last week and talk about how, you know, two parties signed a deal, infrastructure was rolled out, monies have been paid, parts have been bought, you know, and then you turn around and say, well, someone leaned on you, right? So Trump leaned on the UK, and then the UK decides, well, we're gonna pull out. Well, you know, like I said, Chinese people don't like losing face. That is a very important part of their culture, right? And especially in front of the world, in the way that it's happened. So as far as a trade war is concerned, yeah, we are going to suffer, because basically you're going to see your mobile phones go through the roof, electronic goods go through the roof, right? And what China will do basically is impose itself upon countries. For example, it has a very close cooperation with Russia, right? Today, some report came out which alleges that Russia was somehow involved in the the referendum, the referendum about Brexit, right? So there's all this sort of you know, claims of deception by Russia. You know, Donald Trump's talking about having the platform TikTok, which is a Chinese platform, removed. And so where is this actually going? I mean, this is building up into something a bit more serious than just Cold War rhetoric, right? Yeah, I'm concerned for how far this can go. I mean, the trade deals, if they go bad, well, okay. I mean, we're just going to pay. We just have to pay the extra for whatever we can't get from China. But I mean, if this gets out of hand, this could be very problematic for the UK.
Yeah, definitely. Could we do without China as well? Is it actually a possibility that if China starts to do all of this to us, can we actually survive without China?
It's going to be a difficult one. It's going to be a difficult one, because a lot of our modern comforts now is because of what China has done. You know, even when you start looking at technology in cars, you know, they were the first ones to start giving us certain luxury. You know, the TVs, the technology. You know, the whole infrastructure of even like our clothing, footwear. Everything is done in China. Yeah. On a mass and at a level where it's going to be hard for anybody else in the world to replicate that, and or to produce it to that level of demand. Because remember, there's enough of them over there, you know, enough of them, enough. Yeah.
China is the factory of the world. It was given great help and support over the decades by the EU and America. Right, a lot of you know, industries sort of were sent offshore from America and are in China, right? So now that China has and it has all this strategic influence in Africa, you know, all across Asia, in America, to do without them, that's not even conceivable, really. And this is what the problem is. The problem is if China gets nasty, life is going to get a lot more difficult for all of us.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you know, I do blame the Chinese in this as well. You know? The Chinese are to blame, because you know what? They seen Boris Johnson's track record. They should know, but judging from the fact that even Boris don't know how much children he has, he's very good at pulling out at last minute.
I was waiting for you to land, Mr. C. Thank you for that. Right, and also we're going to talk about from last week is, Kanye. We touched on Kanye last week, didn't we? Running for president. And
Yes.
I think we concluded that, it's a bit silly because he's left it all a bit too late. However, he's shown his instability whilst he's talked at his first rally, one of his first rallies this week. So we've got a video. So let's watch the video of Kanye.
My mom saved my life. There would have been no Kanye West because my dad was too busy.
So just to give you some context there, Kanye went into tears because he was talking about the fact that his parents could have possibly aborted him because his dad was too busy. And he also too nearly thought about aborting his daughter. So that was Kanye breaking down during his rally. I think he also went on to say later that, he would, if he became president, he would offer $1 million to everybody who kept their children or something as some sort of support. How stable is Kanye? Could he really be the president? And what surely would happen if he became the president?
If he was the president now, can you imagine him and China going at it?
Oh dear!
Where's that button? Where's that button? Right?
Honestly,
the guy looks like he was just having a complete meltdown. If that was one of my relatives or whatever going for president, he was like, "I'll say, listen, let's come off and do this speech another time because this is not helping." And actually, he's had those moments throughout his career where he kind of stops for a moment and breaks from protocol and gets emotional. So his fans and people who know him kind of understand how he gets that. But for someone who's looking to run for president, that would be exactly the reason why people probably would say, you know what, would you vote for a man that could not stay stable?
Yeah. I mean,
sorry, go on, Terry. Go on.
No, I was going to say, even today, he's been ranting further on Twitter, letting everybody know that Kim has tried to get a doctor to take him away, but he doesn't feel like he needs a doctor, and that her mum, Chris, is also involved in it, and they're trying to get him, and basically that the movie Get Out is about his life. What do you think of that, Mr. C?
I think Kanye, all Kanye's missing is a little red dot in the middle of his hand to say, "Help me, please. May I get abused at home?" He seems like the kind of guy where, right? No, look, number one, I just want to say it's all right for men to cry too. Yeah, it's all right for men to cry too. We don't want to say that any men who are watching, if you're prone to crying every now and then, we're not trying to say that you're unstable.
Yeah.
However, what we say is that it's very much like a Karen moment, that because he's a performer, he realized the power of emotion, and again, when you cry, it helps you to connect with people, and especially as you mentioned, Tony. So his fan bases and people who know who Kanye is and his story, that they will gravitate to that. But 100%, if you're leading the most powerfulest country in the world, you cannot show any sign of that kind of emotion at all, because number one, a lot of the voters are not doing it. They want a strong president. They want to know that when push comes to shove, yeah, you're going to shove, not look for a box of Kleenex and everything and start talk about how you was nearly, so what, get on with the job. That's what you're there to do. We're not there to watch you cry. You know what I mean? We want to cry, but we watch you for leadership. So he clearly demonstrated that he hasn't got that. The fact that that Kim who, let's be honest, you know, I wouldn't put Kim up there as regards to the best of sound-minded people. But if you've got Kim giving you advice and she's trying to get you section, that just shows me the level of problems that you really do have, Kanye. But so, you know, again, yeah, there's something else going on there. I think it's a cry for attention, and I think that he definitely needs some kind of support. And I think we shouldn't be too harsh on him. We should just make sure that he gets the kind of support that he needs, because there's something clearly not right there.
Yeah, I mean, and Blossom says, was that man for real? He was for real. And I do agree that he has some sort of mental health state that needs to be looked at. And unfortunately, when people are of a certain age, you cannot call the doctor in just to take them like that. They have to acknowledge it themselves, and they have to be compliant with going in to be assessed or to be sectioned or whatsoever. So I do want to pray and send blessings and everything I can to hope that Kanye can get himself right and his family will be strong enough to support him, because it definitely is more than comedy sometimes. Sometimes we have a little giggle, but I think, yeah, definitely Kanye needs some help. And
also, it's not financial, because obviously, as we can see from the clip, that he's so astute that even in that position and going for president, he's not ashamed to go and get extra work as security guard as well. Because I didn't understand, he got security on the front of his shirt and on the back. So is he what? Kanye, you're greedy. You're greedy, mate.
Yeah? All the different jobs that are available. All the
everything.
Because clearly,
greedy, mate.
The music industry is not working out in the way that he thought. And that's what I thought. Who is he? Is this a presidential candidate, or is the guy? Which one is he? But if you watch, so I was going to say, if you watch the video closely, his hair, all the back of his hair looked nyama. I don't know if you saw it, but it just looked like, you know, like you just went to a barber and the lights got cut and the man just made a cut. And he just like it wasn't just the instability; it was just his appearance. I mean, how do you're going to protect yourself as a presidential candidate? You come with a security vest, your back of your hair is all nyama, and then you're talking about things about your life in that manner. There's something unfortunately seriously going on. And I'm not saying necessarily he needs a doctor, and I don't think his wife and his family are probably the best people to be around, to be honest, for his mental health. Yeah. But somebody needs to sort of get hold of him and help him. He looks like he just needs help, and I don't think that video has done his credibility any good at all.
Not at all, man. Totally agree with you, Tony.
So moving on from Kanye, we're going to talk about Idris Elba. He's going to be receiving a very special BAFTA. So let's watch this video.
And East London actor Idris Elba is to be awarded a special BAFTA for his work promoting diversity in the TV industry. It's one of the Academy's biggest honours and recognises everything he's done to encourage a broad range of new talent. He'll be presented with it in a virtual ceremony at the end of the month.
First of all, congratulations to him.
Big up yourself, Ids.
I'm aggrieved that the ceremony has to take place virtually. So really, I would have preferred that they delayed the ceremony until we get back to normal and do the thing properly for the man. You know, I mean, they put the football off and all these other occasions, the big events for when crowds come back. I would have preferred they'd done that for Idris, but nevertheless, congratulations. Certainly we'll be tuning into that. He has made such a contribution since he came on the scene. Since early 2001 when his big break with a film called The Wire. No, the series called The Wire, wasn't it? And he's made such an impact in Hollywood. And I didn't realize that he made such a contribution behind the scenes. And certainly it's a wonderful thing to be recognized, because sometimes it's easy to be recognized because of the lights and the celebrity, right? Yeah. But then oftentimes we're not really told, unless you know him or you know what's going on behind the scenes. You're not really told what contributions actors are making to to improve their discipline. So the fact that he's been involved in getting more diversity and introducing us to new potential stars for the future, it's a wonderful thing.
Do you think this was all derived from the Black Lives Matter movement? Do you think this had big influence on this new category, this new award that they're giving out? Because it's never been done before, Mr. C. Do you think this is what's come out of the movement?
I think it's definitely come out of the movement. And I think what it is that when they now look at themselves to say, we as an industry, what can we do as an industry? and then they look and they think, well, you know, has this been done already? And then you look at somebody like Idris Elba, who's doing this as an individual. You know, so he's created so many different avenues for people of color and diversity to be involved in, not just in front of the lens but behind the lens as well. So if we look at Luther, for example, how he's moved that forward, and then, you know, on Sky One with In the Long Run with Jimmy Akambola, you know, even he's got my brethren Quincy involved in the character and doing some writing, and again, you know, behind the cameras and in production, he's always been a champion for that. If we look at even the film that he created, oh gosh, with the story of the African boy, oh gosh,
I'm not sure of it.
The one with the family you're talking about, the African family.
No, not that. He did a film where it's about like a war-torn African boy.
Oh yeah, Beast of No Nation.
Beast of No Nation, absolutely. Oh my, you know how that. To me, that actor, he picked a child who's never done acting before, and literally this child should have got Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars, but they didn't put the film up for it. So, you know, I think Idris has done so much, and as an individual, making all of those changes. So, I think they rightly do have to give him recognition and a special award for what he's done.
Yeah, and even during lockdown, I remember Idris did a live audition section. I don't know if you guys saw it, where he was allowing people to come online with whatever scene they wanted to do for acting, and he would obviously have so many scouts, agents, and everybody watching because of his clout. So it gave people the chance to show off their skills who have never had the opportunity before. And I thought that was such an amazing opportunity. And it was all done through his lives, collaborating with somebody else in order to give people the chance. And it wasn't just for Black people, it was for anybody. But I just thought
anybody.
It was very special that he took out his time to do that during the lockdown. But there's also other people like Rapman, who done the movie Blue Story. Yeah, he too took time out during lockdown every Sunday to do open auditions for his things that are coming up, because, you know, he's got some very big movies coming up and some collaborations, and he literally opened live for like 2-3 hours, people just coming on there showing their skills of acting and everything like that. So I hope that this award continues throughout the years, because there's so many other people, I believe, that need to also receive this award. But why not start with Idris? I'm not hating about that. I'm not hating about that at all.
I think you're right though, Terry. I think the climate is probably what's encouraged that BAFTA commission to look at it. Not that he doesn't deserve it, he does. But I think that the climate, because all around in different disciplines, I mean, I follow you know, the DJing industry, right? Just out of interest, right? And there's a magazine called, I think it's called DJ City, but they've dedicated this month's magazine to what they say is, you know, they specialize in house and techno and dance music, right? But the cover is that dance music is Black music, right? So that the whole magazine just talks about Black contribution to the dance music scene. And I don't think that magazine would have ever come out like that were it not for the climate that we're in. And I think the good thing about what's happening is that it's sort of shifted the focus of the powers that be, those who run these various industries, to sort of say, you know what, we've ignored the Black contribution. Let's look at it and acknowledge it. I think partly it's for virtue signaling, right? Because they want to be seen as being, you know, we're being fair, even though we were unfair before, but we're being fair now. We recognize it now. But the climate certainly, I think, is encouraging that, and I think you're going to see more examples of Black excellence as the weeks go on.
Yeah.
And even talking about Black excellence, it's funny you're saying that about DJs. That, you know, Spoonie on his 50th birthday, he did this wonderful online concert, again highlighting Black excellence. That's what he called it. So, you know, he got all of his music and some of his comedy friends in to do. It was absolutely wonderful, man. And again, it was just because we've got this digital platform now to show who we are and what we have done and what we can do and what we are doing. It's now making people who would never even understand the depth of who we are and what we do, and levels. So, you know, it's starting to be recognized now, and rightly so. I mean, even like I was on Moon mood.com, like where they do the business cards, mood.com.
Yeah.
And they had this, they openly said that, you know, we welcome black entrepreneurs and black business. We support black businesses. And it was just lovely because, like, in my head, I just see this as a normal company, but to hear them say that they support 100% black owned businesses, it was just like, I just had a little nod in my head saying, yeah, man, big up to you guys. And so, yeah, it's a lovely moment.
It's good because it counteracts all the conspiracy before, where people were like, oh, this is just a movement, it's going to die out, nothing's going to change things. I just feel I was always positive, thinking this is going to cause long-term change. And as time's going on, things are changing and I'm loving it. I'm here for it and I'm excited about it. So I think on that note, we have to round up because our time always goes so quickly. Good evening to Debs. She said Spoonie's 50th birthday was superb. So she was there.
Pick up yourself, Debs.
Debs, yes, good evening to her. Carolyn said, great show and debate. Peace out. I think she might have gone. Thank you, Carolyn, for joining us. Thank you, everybody who has been watching, who's joined in the conversation. Even if you've been shouting at your TV from home, we hear you and we feel it. We feel it, don't we, guys? So I'm going to let Mr. C do your little conclusion for the week. What do you want to conclude on? Give everybody
well, listen, I'll say that there's a lovely movement within the community at the moment. I think that, you know, we can definitely make a change. As I said before, this is it now. This is the dawning of our Aquarius, our new Aquarius, and we must use this opportunity wisely. But we don't know, so when this door open again, Massa. So you know what, you know, yeah. Be black, be proud, and be beautiful.
Yes. And Tony, quick one from you.
Today's show has taught us about leadership. It's all good wanting to be a leader, but remember the buck stops with you. No mixed messages, be direct. Let those who follow you know what you want and be consistent in setting that example.
Definitely.
Spoken like a true leader. And you, Terry, what have you got for us?
I just want to say, let's all support our kings and queens, because our men need to rise up and the queens need to rise up. And I think when we rise up together, it's fireworks, to be honest. Who can hold us back when we rise up like that so strong? So stay close to your brothers and sisters, stay supporting them black businesses, but also the black businesses, keep your quality high, make sure no one can come for you, make sure you keep your standards, and everything will just keep ticking over and we will create our own wealth. And I just believe that. So thank you for watching. This has been Terry, Mr. C and Tony giving you What a Week, and we hope to see you again next week. Until then, take care. See you later.
A week.
Bye.